Hello and welcome to this special edition of Aeon Updates. Today I will be interviewing Draak, coder and world builder for Aeon. Draak is my little brother. He is 2 years younger than I am.
Hi.
So let's go ahead and get started here.
Sure thing.
The first question. If you read the 15 years article on the Aeon website, I touched on how you and I first got involved with the game via Void. So, what I'd like to hear to start this interview is the story of how you started with Aeon from your perspective.
Oh, well, that's an interesting question because I didn't directly start playing Aeon. I actually took over one of our dad's characters that he made, and it abandoned. For those of you who are familiar with my mortal, the one I use most frequently, his name is Gisco. Yeah, geez, I think I actually started at home, where you guys were playing at school at the time. Back in the old days when we were smuggling in 3.5 floppies with Telnet on them. Because there's a total security breach there at this school where you could use WordPerfect to copy and move files around, even though it was blocked in like the file manager there at the school. I don't know, it was a long time ago, I'm not sure exactly what you're fishing for.
No, that was pretty good. I do remember you starting with Dad's character and the name. What was the reason behind the name?
Oh, Gisco, my dad had this old book about the Second Punic War, specifically about Hannibal. You know, those who are familiar with the story of Hannibal, the Carthaginian last stronghold of the Phoenician powers, and basically them and Rome were clashing during the Second Punic War, and at some point Hannibal and his officers are looking over the Romans' armies and marveling just how many people these guys could muster. And there was an officer there, his name was Gisco, and I guess even for Phoenicians that was an unusual or rare name, possibly even a foreign name. And Hannibal made some remark, you know what's even more amazing? Is among all those people down there, there's no one named Gisco among them. And I guess a saying went through the camp after that time is the Latins may count their numbers by the tens of thousands, but there is no Gisco among them.
Very cool story.
Yeah, Dad liked little historical things like that. He's not dead, by the way. Past tense was unintentional. He
yes,
likes all historical
tidbits
like that. As of the time of recording, here in September of 2019, our father is still alive.
Glad you cleared that up.
People jump to conclusions. I don't want to get any mud mails like, "We're so sorry to hear about your dad."
Okay. Do you remember what classes your character originally was?
The Gisco ended up being dual-classed cleric warrior, and I actually did a very unusual thing with him where I kept those two levels more or less even up until I got to level 31. Gisco to this day remains 31 cleric, 29 warrior, I believe. So,
Why cleric?
Why not? Who doesn't like being a cleric?
Well, some people are biased against playing as a cleric. They view it as a support class. They don't feel that healing other people or having to actually pay attention to other people at all is very heroic or interesting.
Oh, see, Gisco originally didn't have any healing spells.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
this
right.
This is before spell dependencies, before we actually had trees where spells you had to learn a lesser spell to gain higher spells. And he just relied on a few warrior abilities and like casting harm and stuff like that. And he actually, I think his tertiary is mage, and he would brew potions.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I didn't have any thief levels. I ignored the class entirely, and then one day I just I'm gonna level thief, and I leveled thief 15 times. That was a lot of practices.
Yeah. Must have used those practices to get some healing spells.
Yes, eventually that did become prudent.
Right.
Especially as we started getting some more powerful abilities. Gisco actually has area heal, even though it was a level 33 spell at the time. That was also back in the days where you could wear castle equipment in order to cheat at trainers and learn spells that were beyond your level.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, good old days.
Yeah,
Sort of good old days.
the bad old days, I end up calling it more often than not.
People have no idea how much easier things are.
So, you care to elaborate on that?
Your corpse kept all your gold and equipment, and it could time out, or someone could steal stuff out of it, or the jaguar could eat your body and then eat your ogre feet because it had corpse in the insult string, and it was awful. That's probably the very worst of it. There wasn't a waypoint system. There wasn't anywhere near the balancing of mob levels within internally within areas. You could run to radically different mob strength within a single area. We've done our best to stamp a lot of that out. There's still residuals here and there, but I mean, you're talking about, just la-da-da, you walk along, and boom, you're dead. You had no chance to prepare, no hints or rhyme or reason to it. And I would say I did a little bit of that in my early days of building, just as I emulated the style of other builders at the time who didn't know how to design games. So I thought they were doing the things the correct way. And they were probably just copying off things that they had seen in MUDs they had played previously.
Right.
So we've gotten a lot smarter about that.
Okay. Well, speaking of building, I wanted to ask you, how long have you been building and coding for Altair?
Building, I got on board with pretty early. Have you ever told the tale of the divided god?
No. Do you care to?
Okay.
Do you want to share that with us?
So originally it was Evil Avatar, aka, as we know him today, Void, who got a builder, and this was back when we had a builder's port, a separate copy of the game just for building, because we didn't have all the nice strong permissions and restrictions on gods that we have these days that keep them from breaking things.
Yeah.
So he had a god, and you ended up getting the password because he had to go. What was it? It was out for the summer. He didn't have internet.
Yeah.
And so he gave the password to Shadowfax,
To me.
to Dark Lord, and he started building.
Yes.
Using Void, and he gave the password to me. And so I did some building with Void, and next thing you know, we have 3 people all using the same god in the builder's port, 2 of them completely unvetted, without permission to do so. And that apparently Denton liked the quality of our work, or the fact that we were doing work like we said we would and actually producing content.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll be honest, a lot of times building seems to be the kiss of death. You have these high-level players are really raring to go to get a builder. They get a builder, and 6 months later, they're not even on the game anymore.
Yeah.
It burns them out for some reason. I don't know if they've seen the man behind the curtain, and they can't believe that the wizard's there anymore. I don't know how that exactly goes, because that's never been the case to me. Then ended up dividing us out from Void, giving us our own builders. So the Void became the divided god.
Yes.
And we ended up having our own builders, and eventually, I think I was approached first about coming after Void, about coming over to the main port.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Draak was made back in 2000. Oh, just to give more of a time frame for that, that would have been in 1998 when we were building.
I would have started building in 1997, actually.
Yeah, so 97, 98, and Draak came over the main port like in 2000 or 2002. I don't remember anymore. It's been decades.
Yeah. It's a few years later.
A few years later. And Shadowfax followed after that. How long so that's how long I've been building. So 2019. So 21 years. I've been a builder for Altair. Coding, I was originally approached by Denton. My wife and I weren't married yet. We were dating. Yeah, she helped me with some of the death sound effects for female characters before we were married. So it would have been 2011, 2012, one of those years. 2011 is the year before I met her. Denton approached me about making sounds for the D client. That's Altair's custom client. And in order to He approached me about making sounds for it, expanding it so every spell and skill would have sound, and there'd be other spells for special events. And he specifically wanted me to focus on making sounds for things that would be on the Newbie Islands. Is around that same time frame we were making things, we were developing Slow on Cordon. In order to facilitate that, he actually got me into, after a little while of recording sounds and sending them to him, he gave me a copy of the game and taught me how to add sounds directly myself. Well, now I had a copy of Aeon I had locally hosted on my computer that I could tinker with, and so I started making little tweaks to it, experimenting with it. I have a little bit of coding background, largely self-taught. I worked with a visualizer called R4, where you could make customized scenes for it, and it used a C-style language.
Oh, that was Crimson Editor you used to use, right?
Yeah, R4 was the program. Crimson Editor was the program that I used to edit with. I actually even made a settings for it specifically for Ultron Deprox.
Yes.
So it would highlight the right words and everything for you. I started tinkering with little things in Ultron. One of the very first things I remember doing was messing around with Case. And kind of taking Case and splitting it out from the Consider command. Or no, yeah, I took the thiefy stuff, the thiefy stuff in the Consider command and putting it into Case. Because it was extra spam for blind people, and it also kind of reinforced in my mind the kind of holy triad you have in fantasy RPGs where you have melee, stealth, magic. Mm-hmm. And kind of emphasizing the role of the thief is like, if he is considering a target for combat, he's not looking at it in the same way that he would be. He's casing the target in order to know if make a mark out of it in order to steal. So I wanted to emphasize that more and also split out spammy stuff that was in Consider and put it over there. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And next thing I know was making changes to everything. And Den taught me how to make tables, and I was changing everything, putting everything in tables from O-types and composition of objects to organizing the entire structure of how our damage types works into a fast-acting table that gave things grouped weapon damage types together and assigned them traits. And then I just started developing crafting. I kept asking Denton for help with it. Help me. I want to do this. People are asking for it. And eventually I just went off and... Oh, fun fact for everyone. Leather crafting is directly based off of totem carving. That's what I used for a model. Mm-hmm. I tore it apart. I kept changing things and adding events until I got something functional, a little buggy, and became our first non-classed permanent craft. Mm-hmm. And here I am today fielding everyone's crafting requests with every little thing they want to do. In fact, I'm working on right now with Leathercraft to make it so people can designate a level they want their leather-crafted equipment to be. So they don't have to log in other characters illegally in order to target that character to make something for them.
Oh, like make
because I love you.
Oh, we love you too. So, so making stuff for like people on the same account, you can craft something for your low level alt.
Yeah, instead of having to log in your alt and go Leathercraft new glove skin. Newbie, you just, whatever their level is, you type that in.
All right.
So they don't have to have the two characters on and are technically breaking the rules.
Yeah, that is an excellent idea. All right. So, my next question for you is, which do you enjoy more, building or coding?
Oh, that's kind of like asking, what do I like more, tomato soup or fried cheese sandwiches? And it's like, I like them together.
Perhaps it's an apples and oranges comparison?
More things that are complementary rather than different than opposites of one another. Or different categories from one another. Because really, my coding is informed by building. My building is informed by coding. As someone who's developed a lot of game content, I can bring more of the lore of the game into the code and incorporate it that way. Denton, I love him dearly, and I like him very much. He's a very smart guy, but he doesn't know that much about his own games in terms of the lore, except what he develops himself. That's why that's why he's kind of gone off and developed Stellar Aeon. It's something that's a bit more calibrated to his interests. What was the question again?
Which do you enjoy more, building or coding?
Yes.
You like them both, obviously.
I like them both because they kind of work with different parts of my brain. I can also kind of coordinate them with one another. If I see something lacking on the building side, now I can do something about it. There's a lot of stuff that you guys, as players, don't see that's invisible builder stuff and invisible world builder stuff that we develop. And it's gives us tools to analyze things in the game, gives us tools to look up things really quickly, and to find and fix problems and find trouble areas, like, things we can look up. And by we, I mean Denton. Denton has set up a whole lot of things within the game that track where experience goes and comes from, where gold goes and is used for. And it helps us find trouble spots where things are too expensive. It helps us find trouble spots where there's a bit of an experience desert within a certain level range.
Yeah.
And so we can go and shore that up. So we want you guys to know there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes where we want to help you. We want you to have a good game experience. We don't like the bad old days where you could be killed and devoured and all your equipment lost and everything lost to the four winds and you just be obliterated and completely demoralized and crushed. We want to do things and make the game experience a lot of fun so you can find the things you need to find. Still have a challenge, mind you. But so it's not impossible.
All right. I think that's basically the virtues of any good game design. It's like, that's what players want. It's like, challenge me, but don't make it impossible and help me to have a good time.
Yeah. So at some point, that dangling carrot, you got to be able to eat it.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Which is your favorite area in Alter Aeon?
I really love the stuff that Void made for the northern continent of Ramenek. He had his own lore that he built up for it. And I've tried to honor it within things that I've coded. Morpheus and I, specifically, both like to take his kind of hierarchy of saving throws they developed for gems, like rubies being fire save, sapphires being electrical save,
And
garnets being cold save,
yes.
diamonds having spell save. I've incorporated that into lapidary. If you go and you dig up a diamond and you carve it into a gemstone, it's got fire save on it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have that kind of consistency throughout the entire game. It's another reason I fought Denton when Necromancer was coming in, not to call all the Claymen and the Flesh Beasts and everything, not to call them golems, because I wanted them to be distinct entities from Void's golems.
Yeah.
Because he put a lot of work into those, and I really like the idea of golems being a constructed entity, as opposed to something you kind of slap together.
Right.
Like the Necromancer animated minions, and I think they're better for it. They have a more distinct flavor to them as homunculi rather than as golems. I still entertain ideas sometimes of actually taking Void's golems and hard coding them into the game so they can be skills that people learn to make them. But that'll be sometime in the future if I ever get around to it.
Well, speaking of skills, the next question is, what's your favorite skill or spell in Alter Aeon?
Groundstrike has a lot of lovely flavor to it. The idea of a big, beefy warrior taking a hammer or axe to the ground and knocking up rocks out of it, and the elemental energy being able to be channeled into that. That's just a lovely fantasy thing. That just is something that makes you feel, when you're doing it, you're really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just in terms of game flavor, I'd say Groundstrike is one of my favorite skills.
Okay.
What else? No, that's my story. I'm sticking with it.
Okay. Are there any other favorites you have about the game, like a favorite mob or object, perhaps?
Oh, boy. Well, the favorite mobs I've made is probably the Bipolar Bear in Saboria. It's just a silly little pun thing, and he's actually a pretty formidable combatant. Either way he decides to go in combat, whether he goes berserk or he goes defensive on you. Depends whether he's having a good day or not. Let's see. favorite things in the game. Thanatos are... Actually, it's spelled Thanatos in the game. They leave out an A. That's everyone's favorite friendly Grim Reaper sitting around the Temple of Denton. There's always been a lovely landmark there in the game. I just like Thanatos. The image of him sitting there watching you come in. When you die, you're being bloodied and battered before him. I don't know. I'd probably have to think really hard, because there's thousands, tens of thousands of mobs and objects in the game, and it's really hard to just kind of sort through them all and pick out which ones are my absolute favorite.
All right, here's the question for you. Why don't you play as Gisco or any other character anymore?
I actually do play as Gisco, though he mostly do test things. Honestly, I would say because I know, having especially been helping develop the newbie areas on the islands, it's not a journey of discovery for me to play through those areas. I really do need to roll up a new character and play through the entire island experience, because I haven't done that anytime recently, within the past 3 or 4 years.
Now, you did make one.
Gisco is horribly miscalibrated, by the way, with the charisma change and everything, so he's actually not very fun to play.
Oh.
That's probably the biggest reason I don't play him.
Okay. How would you respond to accusations that you are out of touch because you don't actually play the game yourself?
I don't really see myself being an ivory tower. I'm connected to Bovine. I listen to gossip. I'm on the crafting channel. I listen to people on the game. I take their suggestions. Morpheus is a great provider of ideas and suggestions for making things easier, for improving things. He's really good at finding little corner cases to fix up. So I don't think I'm necessarily out of the loop or out of touch with it. I have I don't know. I have people for that. I guess that sounds no. I'm plugged in. I hear what people say and suggestions they make, and I try and implement them.
Okay, it's a fair answer. So I find myself finding a lot of issues or bugs just on my own playing the game as Dark Lord, which is the only character I ever use nowadays. Okay, and obviously he does have some limitations because I'm not very high level druid or necromancer, and so I don't touch those classes very much. I do have to rely on other people for information sometimes, but I always found that there's really, for me at least, there's no substitute for experiencing the game yourself. I mean, just looking at the screen and having it through the eyes of your own character doing things. I think you just think of it in a different way. I always try to picture in my head what my character is actually trying to do. Mm-hmm. And most of it's pretty gruesome because he's killing people, but it's the
smash his skull like an overripe fruit.
Yeah, you like that one, huh?
That's a popular one. I'd say Crippling Strike. Some of those strings are almost as good as Ground Strike. Yeah,
those are pretty good. All right, so
I hear what you're saying with that. I actually have kind of a story that kind of goes along with that.
Sure.
As long as I understand there's no substitute for player experience, one of the things we also don't understand enough is there's not really a substitute for newbie experience. I know there have been people, I know Denton's done this, some other people have brought me suggestions like, I pretended to be a newbie and logged into the game and I came up with these ideas. Well, something that happened not too terribly long ago is people know that the names for a lot of the healing and a lot of the harm tree spells changed. And there was a very specific reason for that. I was developing the new player zones on for the class-specific start points for Warrior, Thief, Druid, Mage, and then Cleric. Mm-hmm. My wife was actually helping me playtest that by running a newbie through herself in the Cleric area. And she's a true newbie. She doesn't have a lot of experience with MUDs or text-based games. She is genre savvy. She knows about fantasy, through books and through watching people play video games and that sort of thing. She's familiar with it. But when it came down to typing cure light wounds and cause light wounds, it was very confusing for her. And it was something I never considered that somebody would, that it would be hard for somebody to remember these spells with 3 names, to type out, and you could abbreviate them. And if you're not used to it, typing them out quickly, it's actually kind of a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
And that's where I came up with the new names that would be shortened. So you don't have to type, CC LW or whatever people are CCL. In order to cast a spell, you'd be able to just go Sisu for soothe wounds. And it was more intuitive, and they weren't so clunky sounding. They didn't sound nearly as much like they were ripped off of Dungeons and Dragons. So I completely understand what you're saying about player experience being valuable and there not being a substitute for it. I know the new player experience is also something that you can't really simulate with 100% accuracy. No matter how hard you try and forget all the commands you've packed into your skull for the past 2 decades. Some things like cure light wounds are just so instinctive that it never occurred to me that might be a problem for someone else.
It's muscle memory.
Pretty much.
Yeah. All right, next question. I know that game events are hard to run, but you don't seem interested in running them anymore. Why is that?
Time constraints, I think, are probably my biggest obstacle. I run into that. Just be able to push out the content and coordinate with people in order to get it done. I don't have a lot to add.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to help with events.
Sounds good. I might take you up on that offer. Okay. As many may already know, you are responsible for the sounds for the D client. How do you like doing that?
Oh, it's a blast. I get to break things and yell at the microphone and pretend to die. And distort sounds and make them sound all weird. I would love to, when the D client's capable of supporting it, develop a soundtrack for the game.
Oh, yeah.
Both an ambient track and a music track. Yes. For those who don't know, both I, my brother, and Denton are all musicians and musically inclined and capable of playing multiple instruments. So we could totally make it happen.
We could. We just need to find the software support for the D client, and I would love to design music for it. I'll let you do the ambience, but I would love to design music for it.
Have you heard my Shadow Plane ambient tracks?
I've heard all of your ambience tracks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I used to put them up on the on Facebook, too, occasionally. Do you have any new ones that you've done recently?
Yeah, actually, I found this... Yeah, we found this door harp, or maybe my wife's mother gave it to her. It's broken, the little ball fell off, but it has 4 strings on it, and I played around with the notes a little bit, and you can kind of play it, and it makes these creepy string sounds that kind of like a broken music box quality, and I kind of played around and made a couple little tracks with them. Figured they'd be good for creepy stuff, like Kafka's Mansion.
Joe Karen,
Inn of the Silent Centaur, places like that.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, dude. All right, some more questions. So I'm sitting here in your lovely new home. You just recently moved across town. How are you liking your new house?
I'm enjoying it a lot. Like being a homeowner, having my own place, not giving money to the man anymore, instead of getting it from the man and then having to pay the man back is actually what I'm doing right now. But in the end, I'll keep some of the money. Oh, no. In fact, as Shadowfax can attest, when he got here tonight, I was out back burning off a few scraps of cardboard and stuff in the back. Something I haven't been able to do for quite a long time is enjoy a nice little fire.
Fire God does approve?
Indeed. No, we grew up in the country. We know a bit about land management and forestry and agriculture from our father. And so we kind of grew up and were instilled with that. You might notice that those who do a lot of crafting, that Draak has a penchant for natural philosophy. There are a lot of different kinds of woods and a lot of different kinds of stones. And you find them in places that you might expect to find them in the real world. Well, that all stems back from my dad. and his interests in the natural world around him and managing natural resources, just in terms of having a farm, having we had an orchard with apples and pears. We raised chickens and turkeys and ducks and geese. We had ponds on the property. He actually got fish from the state government in order to stock them. We would actually dig up bricks on the property. It used to be a brickyard back in the day, and we would dig up all kinds of interesting little artifacts you could find in the ground where they dumped the garbage or where they had manufactured clay pipes. Mm-hmm. And where the previous owners had just dumped tires and other garbage like that. They were not the original bricklaying folks. The people who owned it in the meantime actually apparently had cattle because they left barbed wire over the place. And they left a lot of garbage out in the woods. Yep. I'm kind of getting off the track here, though. Yes, I like having a house.
Very good.
People might remember from a few weeks ago my disappointment when I found out the little strawberries I found in my backyard were in fact false strawberries. And they were little bright red fruits, but they have absolutely no flavor. It made me sad.
Aww.
I do have chives growing in the back, though.
Wild chives?
They might be cultivated. I don't know. They propagate easily, but they're good things to have around. They repel insects, and they're tasty.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Cut those up, put them on your stew or your spaghetti or something.
Wrap it around with some steak and grill it.
All right, cool.
I've got to cultivate some herb gardens back here. Got to get some spearmint and probably some thyme. It's very shady. I think it's some things that are shade tolerant. We have a little kitty cat now, and I'll probably grow her some catmint.
I wish I had some to give you. I used to have catmint on my property that it grew in one of the corners, and I tried to transplant it to closer to the house, but it all died.
Yeah, it's not as hardy as like spearmint or peppermint. So that stuff's freaking invincible.
Oh, I got spearmint all over the place.
Yeah, I mean you can try and like burn it off; it just comes back stronger. Catmint's a bit more sensitive. It does like shade, though. I've noticed.
Okay.
It does not like sunlight. So if you planted it sunlight, even if it was partial sun, that's probably what killed it.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next question.
Sure.
Tell us about what you do for a living.
Okay. My occupation is I am officially an independent living counselor, which means I help people with mental handicaps and mental illnesses in their daily lives. Help them cook, help them clean, help them get prepared for their days. I recently switched from, when my son started going to kindergarten, I switched from working afternoon shifts to day shifts, where I'm more involved in helping them get out in the community, rather than helping them around their houses. I've been doing this for over 10 years now, and I'm one of the old people there. I've actually been working there longer than my manager has. Yeah, talking to her the other day, and it turns out she started several months after I did. So, give you an example today. I drove all the way up into the suburbs of a large nearby city, well over an hour and a half away, in order to take somebody to go see his sister, because their grandmother had died. And then drove all the way back. It was a bit of a haul.
Do you find the job fulfilling?
Most of the time. There's some times where it can be frustrating, but I mean, that's any job. You're going to have stress. Yeah, it's actually one of the reasons I've stayed in this line of work is I don't find it particularly stressful. Most of the time. It has its moments.
Yeah, it does. All right. I know you have access to a lot of music from back when you used to DJ. What kind of music do you like best?
That's the question you spin off me being a former mobile DJ.
Yes.
Okay.
Unless you really want to describe your latent DJ career.
It actually kind of morphed into my recording sounds for Aeon career, because I have the equipment to record sounds. And, I have high fidelity sound equipment.
All right.
So, favorite kind of music?
Yes.
Let me think. I like a wide variety of music. My wife and I are. It's not unusual for us to be playing classical music in the car. We support a local classical station. But I listen to oldies, listen to rock, listen to alternative, listen to some modern music. Wife's more of a country fan than I am. Though I say my favorite kind of genre of music is kind of like ballads and kind of folk music. If anyone's familiar with Gordon Lightfoot's Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, it's probably one of my favorite songs. It describes, probably that's because I like the history behind it. It actually is local history. Because it's about the sinking of a ore freighter out on Lake Superior. And Shadowfax and I live in the Midwest, not horribly far away from the Great Lakes. Mm-hmm. And I like the kind of local connection there, and that people can take things that were stories that happened in recent times and kind of give them that epic, grand quality that you expect from something in the Middle Ages. People singing about some great battle or something. It's another favorite kind of genre. Sort of subgenre of folk I like Scottish Jacobite songs, from like the Jacobite revolutions, and things like the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, Arlo Guthrie's "City of New Orleans." Mm-hmm. That song has really cool quality, and it's also got a lot of local flavor. It's about a train that used to go on the tracks that are not very far away from here, and there's a local city that's mentioned right in the lyrics. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like a lot of different kind of music. I like kind of old folky ballads the best.
Okay. Are there any other games besides Alter Aeon that you like to play?
So I have the best wife ever, because when we got married, we got an Xbox 360, and she bought me all the Batman Arkham games so she could watch me play them. And so I got to be Batman. I'd swinging from the rooftops and dropping it on people and saying, "I am the Knight," and I'd talk in the Batman voice as I was playing the game. Because like the thugs and stuff, they'd like say things to you and they'd taunt you, and they'd be like there'd be one that would say something about how your mother wouldn't recognize you when he was through with you, and I'd be like, "My mother is dead," and I'd jump on him. Beat them up. I played a lot of those recently. I really like the Elder Scrolls series. I was introduced to it in a very strange way. Back while I was in my early 20s. I was house sitting for someone we went to church with, watching their cat and whatnot while they were on vacation, and they had an old school Xbox, and so I tried out some of their games while they were gone. And one of the ones I came across was Morrowind, aka Elder Scrolls 3. I started playing it. I really enjoyed it. I believe I made an orc battle mage, and I started running him around. And it got late. It got to be about 11 o'clock, and I was like, I should go to bed soon. Next level. And keep progressing. Next thing I know, it's 7 a.m. I had stayed up probably playing Elder Scrolls 3 for at least 10 straight hours, all through the night. No, it had been later than that. It had been close to 12 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, really enjoyed that series, and they did a very quality job. And they've been a lot of inspiration from that has gone into my building on Alter Aeon and world building. Wanted to make a more unified lore. I think one of the things we kind of struggle with the game sometimes is the problem you have with, say, making a comic book movie, is you've got a lot of legacy to drag forward with that. There's a lot of goofy stuff in Marvel Comics, and you gotta decide what to leave behind and what to take with you. You can't drag it all forward with you.
Yeah.
You can ride the edge on some of it, like Guardians of the Galaxy, anyone? They did some pretty goofy stuff. Movies filled with blue and green people and talking raccoons and giant tree men, and they somehow were able to make it work. That's very hard to do. In Alter Aeon, we've had to drag forward some legacy with things like what we now call the Mad Druid's Refuge used to be the Land of Magic. And the builder, Arlislan, I think literally just ripped off a bunch of puns from the old King's Quest games and stitched them together into this area. And we've had to roll ahead to some things like that. Some of it has been varying degrees of quality. Like, integrating Joe Karen, the undead city, into the lore isn't that hard. An undead city ruled over by a Lich King is kind of a fantasy staple. It's a little generic, but we worked around it. We worked to make sure that it was represented in areas around it. Weaving everything together into this verisimilitude where things have an effect on each other, where people in one town know about people in the next town over. People know what's going on down the road. You can talk to them, or they have a quest that sends you to nearby areas and having them be aware of each other. Knowing that the copper on Cordon and Slow came from the copper mines. What is it? Kentwig and
K and something.
Yeah, from the copper mines there with the gnomes on Cordon.
Yeah.
I've integrated that into the lore so that things all kind of make sense together. There are sources for things. And it's been an ongoing process. And will continue to be an ongoing process, kind of unifying the rather disparate legacy of Aeon. But I think we're making something that's pretty cohesive and all works together. So yes, there are other games I've played besides Aeon.
All right, very good.
Used to like playing SimCity and the Maxis games back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Those were a lot of fun. What else do we... Shadowfax and I both grew up in the area where the first-person shooter became, like, the thing. We played Castle Wolfenstein. I'm sorry, Wolfenstein 3D. Castle Wolfenstein was what came before that. We played Wolfenstein 3D. We played Doom.
Then...
Descent. That was an early space
Descent.
one. Yeah.
I pulled music from the soundtracks of some of those games for background music on our monthly updates.
We really should be composing our own stuff. We have the capability.
Well, I made it for the contest last year. I'm going to be doing a similar contest this year. Spoilers!
Spoiler alert! Plug your ears.
That's okay. It's not hard to find. It's just a simple scavenger hunt.
All right. Sounds like fun.
See, the last one was Blake Stone. Aliens of
the
Gold.
Aliens of Gold.
Yes.
Oh. What a goofy game that was.
That was a goofy. It's Wolfenstein in space.
Wolfenstein in space, yes. You went from fighting robot battlesuit Hitler to just an old man shooting him over and over again with a plasma cannon.
Yeah. Basically.
Until he teleported away laughing at you.
Oh, there's another game I forgot we used to play all the time.
What's that?
Mech Warrior.
Oh, the Mech Warrior games. How could I forget? Those games had the best music.
Yes.
Some of the best. The Mech Warrior 2 and Mech Warrior 2 Mercenaries, those are awesome soundtracks.
Yes.
They did a good job of making like this sort of tribal, sort of little techno, just really flavorful soundtracks that really went along well with driving around a giant robot that blew other giant robots up.
Yes.
Very, very good. Yeah, how could I forget the Mech Warrior games?
Yeah, actually, I copied a bunch of music to our to Alter Aeon's Dropbox. So, from those games, and from One Must Fall.
Oh, One Must Fall, that another giant robot game.
Yeah,
that's giant robots beating each other up inside of lightning power plants and lava pits and a couple other weird settings.
Yep, good games. So, what else do you like to do in your spare time?
I have too many stupid little hobbies that I don't focus on any one of them enough. Let's see. I like to cook. I like herbal medicine. I like gardening. I like carving wood. I like a bit of DIY crafting of like clothing and leather items. I like landscaping. I like the natural sciences, just reading about how weather works, reading about how geology works, studying up about native plants and animals and where they live and how to find them. Keep Draak away from books about fish so he stops adding more fish to the fishing table. Because I keep adding more fish to it every time I see something interesting. Same thing with minerals. keep me away from mineral books. If I see something shiny, you'll end up being in the lapidary table or in the mining tables.
I was the one who originally wrote the mining table, but then Draak added his vast knowledge of geology to it and made it like 10 times bigger.
I don't think it was quite that much, but I probably doubled the size of it at least.
At least, yes.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me, just how varied our world is, and how things end up being where they're at. And I like Altreon to have that feel of a natural world where it went through its own history. It had its own geology. Things happened in the past, and we can find traces of that in the present.
Good. All right. Wrap it up. What's your favorite kind of food?
If I were given a choice of something I just had to eat forever, I really like pulled pork if it's got a good barbecue sauce. Yeah, probably the best pulled pork I ever had was at a restaurant in Wisconsin, Dells. And for the uninitiated, that is a resort town / tourist trap up in mid-southern Wisconsin. There's actually a very large tourist industry in the southern part of Wisconsin. And Wisconsin Dells capitalizes off that. It has a bunch of water parks and theme parks and zoos and all kinds of shows.
It's where my wife and I honeymooned. Wisconsin Dells.
Did you ride the ducks?
No, actually, since we were married about this time of year, a lot of that industry shuts down like after Labor Day.
Aww.
So we were in the off season. And what we actually ended up doing was a lot more of the, less popular things. We went hiking and horseback riding and just antiquing, stuff like that.
Yeah, Wisconsin Dells is a lot of fun.
Sorry, favorite kind of food. I'll get you back on
track.
track.
Yeah, I got off rails there. No, going back to that. Yeah, it's a very interesting place. The ducks, by the way, are amphibious vehicles. We're talking like stuff like D-Day, Storm the Beaches of Normandy type thing. They're old military amphibious vehicles.
Yes.
And they have a bunch there in Wisconsin Dells, and you can pay to go on rides on them. There's all kinds of cool stuff. Like, I'm pointing to Shadowfax here. There's a picture up on my wall of me, my wife, and my son dressed up in Civil War attire. We had that taken at a place in Wisconsin Dells. Very lovely. So the audience can all see, right?
Yes.
Through my microphone.
It is awesome.
Anyways, rolling that back all together towards my favorite food, there's a restaurant there run by the Sprecher Company. They're a brewery that mix craft beers and gourmet sodas. And so their barbecue sauce they use in their pulled pork sandwich is root beer based. I believe I gave you a bottle of mustard.
Root beer mustard.
Red mustard.
Yep.
I will have to get you more if you like.
I gobbled that all up.
It was great, wasn't it?
It was pretty good.
There's some really good mustards. I've had good luck with mustard out of Wisconsin. Before that, a couple of years before that, I had gotten a mustard with black truffle in it.
Wow.
That was quite tasty. I definitely prefer black truffle to white truffle. White truffle is just weird, spicy flavor. And I prefer the earthy notes of a black truffle.
Food for thought.
Food for thought. Yeah. So yeah, that was the best pulled pork I've ever had, and I've had a lot of pulled pork.
Oh, Sprecher's also make the Puma Cola, right?
Oh, they make Puma Cola, yeah. All the different brands of cola they have are pretty darn good.
Yeah, I like their cream soda.
Their cream soda is a very nice, sweet
honey taste, yeah.
Their ginger ale is a bit odd, though. It's a very dry ginger ale in terms of not being particularly sweet. Mm-hmm. And it smells kind of like Pine Sol. It's like, this is some pretty tasty floor cleaner. I guess. So, yeah. Not everything they touch turns to gold, but they make a darn fine root beer, a very good cola, and an excellent cream soda. And their fruit flavor is also pretty good, too.
All right. Any other favorite foods?
Ooh. Recently, I've probably since I started dating my wife, kind of developed a taste for sushi. I know I'd gone with you and Dad before to a sushi buffet years ago. before I was married. I kind of enjoyed it, but developed much more of a taste for it recently. Kind of culminating around last Father's Day.
Yes, the sushi boat.
Yeah, we went to a fancy Japanese restaurant in a town not terribly far from here and got their sushi boat for $4. And it's this, they serve it on a literal big wooden boat they put on your table. It took them, probably 40 minutes to prepare the thing. And it's just a buttload of sushi.
Yes.
And that was really good.
It was really good.
It was a feast. And at the end of it, it's like, man, I'm like full, but I don't feel like sick full. Like, it's like a refreshing kind of full.
Yes.
It's like healthy kind of full. A lot of fish and rice. I like to put the pickled ginger on mine.
Pickled ginger is good.
Yeah, we need to go get a dragon roll sometimes.
Yeah, I've wanted to go try out the place here in town. I've never had the opportunity yet.
It is weird how
I've
good the
worked
sushi
here so many days, but I'm sorry, I kept going. I've worked here a lot, here where you live, but they're never open by the time I go by there.
Oh.
So I would have to, whatever route I'm on, I'd have to come like back to town, and it's not worth it time-wise.
I live in a little town of about 5,000 to 6,000 people. And most of the little towns around here of that size will have a Chinese restaurant.
Yes.
They're generally okay. They're just okay kind of food. You go there and it's like, oh, it's Chinese food.
Right.
This one in here is just unusual because the most their common fare is really good Chinese food. But they also have a Japanese menu, and they have sushi, and they make this for sushi fresh on site there. And it's on par with that bigger restaurant we went to around Father's Day. And I don't know if he's there anymore. They used to have this guy who worked the sushi bar, and he looked like he just stepped out of an anime. He's wearing like the gi, and he's got the headband with the rising sun red on white on it. And he's got his hair spiked up like he's Goku or something. And he's back there making the sushi. It's just like, that's the kind of guy you want to see making sushi. Either he looks like Goku or you really want to see like a wise old man. Which seems to be the regular go-to guy now.
Okay.
But yeah, that guy I should have taken a picture of him while I had a chance. But I mean, it looks like he'd be back there like, just charging up energy to put into the sushi to make it taste better, like charging up the wasabi sauce. Screaming while little rocks floated around on the ground.
It's powering up.
Powering up. Gotta get his energy level high enough to make the sushi properly.
Okay.
Yes. A few steps above the stuff you'd buy at like Jewel.
Yes. Yes.
All the grocery stores are selling sushi. It's weird.
Yeah, it's not very good.
It's not very good. Don't buy grocery store sushi. Go to a restaurant and have it made fresh.
Yeah, or especially avoid the gas station sushi. That'll put you in the hospital. Don't eat that stuff. Okay. Yeah. I think that should wrap it up. What do you think?
I think we're at a good place.
All right. Well, let's
think of any more questions.
No, I can think of more questions, but we should probably wrap this up. I think we're getting on towards an hour, and that is about as long as I'd like to make these. So let us conclude here. We thank Draak for taking time to sit down and for an interview, and
I'd like to thank Shadowfax for taking time to interview me and for bringing me a little spice cabinet that he wasn't using anymore.
Yay.
I'm going to probably put cat stuff in it, because we have a cat now.
Yeah, I saw you put it right next to your cat dishes, so that's what I thought too. I was like, oh, he's going to put his cat stuff in it.
There's some other things. We're going to have a housewarming here in a few weeks.
Yes.
And you're definitely invited.
Thank you.
He is, not all you guys.
Okay, happy mudding, everybody.
Happy mudding. See you guys in Aeon. Tell your friends, tell your family. It's pretty cool stuff. Probably one of the nicest things we have is you can have the ear of the developers. You can talk directly to us. We're not just going to be dwelling up in some high place where we can't be accessed. Talking about you, World of Warcraft.